Yeah.
What? Yeah.
Hey, boo, hey. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me pull up my notes. My minimal amount of notes.
You are forgetting one.
Who am I forgetting? What am I forgetting?
None anymore.
Oh, are you important, Jesse? Is that what it's saying? Are you important? Did we leave you
Good
behind?
morning. I just woke up like 10, 10, almost 15 minutes ago.
Gee whiz. Isn't it 7 where you are? 7 a.m.?
Yes.
Look at me doing math. Oh.
Yeah, my time zone is just practically yours, but
the other side.
For the most part.
The other side. Well, welcome to the Fresh Beginnings episode. CV11. I can't believe we're all the way at CV11. Good job, everybody.
I know, right?
Isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
It's not really that crazy when you participated all 11. And it's like, oh yeah, they're meant to last for like a month or so, but then, well, real life happened, and so the duration just lasted for more than just a single month.
Listen.
I remember when Fire was like, oh yeah, Fresh Beginnings won't last like 3 months.
Oh my god.
And then...
Hang
on.
It was, oh my, you're gonna find this, you're gonna pull up receipts, is that what you're gonna do? God damn it. I was so sure this was not gonna take a long time. I was so sure. I think this is the longest CV. Didn't you just...
by a few days.
Yeah, I think...
Yep.
I forgot who said it, but discovered it was the longest CV. But it also doesn't feel like the longest CV, because not a lot... The funny thing is, not a lot happens. I guess a lot does happen. But I would say in terms of story events, less happens in this CV than pretty much any other CV. So that's crazy. So let's fucking dive in. Oh boy, I'm getting pinged. This can't be good. Hang on. 1 second. I'm about to look at this
Aged
ping.
like milk.
Oh god. Something bad's about to happen. Age like... Oh, yep. It will not take 3 months, though. God damn it. Wow. I am a big ol' liar, aren't I? Big ol' fat, skinny, rich liar. Okay, so... Fresh Beginnings, CV11. I'll read the prompt, and you tell me what your first ideas were. So it was a video comes on along with a person standing in front of a blue-skied backdrop, leaves blowing in the wind. Welcome to Fresh Beginnings. We are here to take care of your parents, grandparents as they make parents and grandparents as they make this next transition in life. We have tons of facilities and activities for them to engage in with whatever stage of development they're at. We have backgammon, tennis, swimming, saunas. I like saying saunas. It's saunas, but I like saying saunas. We take them on safaris, through walks in our beautiful African landscape. Never did that. We even play all of their favorite films when they were going to the movies in our specialized movie projector room. Never did that either. We understand that this is a challenging time for your elder, and their disease is hurting your family structure. Though through holistic treatments, we have been rated the top elder facility in the world. Let Fresh Beginnings light the way into a new tomorrow for a new millennium. Oh my gosh. So what did you guys think when you heard the prompt? That show was about to be some old people.
Well, the first thing I thought about was like, which one of my established characters is already old?
Oh gosh.
Chronologically. That was the first thing.
It doesn't matter about living in this CV because my character's going to be dead within a few days anyways afterwards.
Wow. All this elder slander.
I mean, to be fair, the required minimum age range of this CV, my own grandfathers didn't live long enough to reach that point, so...
Work. Yeah, it was, what was the request? What was the age requirements? Is it like 70 and up or something?
It was like 80 to 100 or something like that.
Yeah. Which everyone did pretty well, because in previous CVs, I will give age requirements, and you all will automatically go for the youngest age requirement. But you guys did well this time. I was surprised. Good job. Good job. Good job.
And me, I always go for the oldest.
That is fair. In fact, why don't you introduce? Oh well. First we'll start. We'll start at the top. We'll start with Vel's character. So we had six nice compact cast list. We had six folks. Vel was playing Haru Takahashi from Tokyo, Japan, who his previous line of work was as an assassin. And I also let you guys pick a quality or special skill set that would add +5 to your dice rolls depending on what they were doing. And an ailment that would be -10 to your dice rolls depending on what they were doing. And Haru's was he was skilled in reflexes, and his ailment was that he had asthma, which relatable. Then we had old John Freda, a little celebrity here in Hell City. Tell us about John Freda.
So, pretty much like origins of John Freda in general. He just started out as like a name within a family tree that I just decided to randomly conjure up because, as I said early back in CV4 with Trevor, they were all part of this. I played this mobile app game that lets me run an apartment simulator that allows me to like run generation after generation. So yeah, John was just a random name that I thought of for I think he was either the random spouse that the character I created, Natalia, decided to marry because and so I just decided to log that name in, and then when the time came for me to give like actual personalities to an actual face and a personality to these names because I thought, why not? John was probably like the most special case of, oh wow, this singular addition was like going, this singular part that I just added to them would be enough to define him. So that thing being like in his very very first kick crew, like the very original, which I don't know where it is right now. He had a burn scar on his left cheek, and I was just like, oh, burn scar, a burn scar. And then I thought of like other pyromaniacs, such as not really pyromaniacs, but those explosive enthusiasts, such as like Niece Hollystone from Bacano. Yeah, she was like an inspiration for me to think, oh yeah, he could just be an explosives enthusiast, a pyromaniac. And so I was just like, yep. I was just like, yep, that's him now. And well,
nice.
Just for the timeline of John Freda's like when he was first mentioned in NHC, like in the theater district, he was actually first mentioned in Mysterica as oh yeah, like apparently he's a legend because he's like an older relative to one of course, Castellan, who was like his grandnephew, and it's even said that he has a fan club because of his George Metesky-esque antics. And then the second time he was mentioned, and the first proper time I played as him, it was City of Curses, which is in itself like an entirely big can of worms because of the role he plays there. Yeah.
So what was his previous line of work in Fresh Beginnings?
Well, he was just like in line with what they decided to make of him, like his personality and all that stuff. He wants to be as close to the fire starters as possible, so he's a fireworks salesman. Nice. Seemingly fine enough. Like the best, like he was a fireworks salesman. Like just handles he handles all those cherry bombs and all that stuff. Handles all those cherry bombs, those decorative explosives that are wrapped deceitfully in paper, and then. But way before that, like. I decided to tackle in a little bit of Spanish history as well. Just, oh yeah, the Spanish Civil War happened, so why not have him be a participant? He didn't take any sides. He just wanted to blow stuff up because he had no interest. Just blow stuff up, no problem. Or more specifically, because he was taken in as a ward. Like he was taken as like a ward for in one of the noble, like one of the rich houses per se. So he's just like, you could say that he's merely doing it to protect the interests of the rich, but then John would officially tell you, rich, or if you just give me gunpowder, that's already enough for me to make some cash.
Nice.
He's just, in general, he's just, yeah.
Nice.
In general, I just, when I created him as well, I was thinking of Nolan's Isidore when it came to how he spoke.
Shout out to Enemy of the State, by the way. Go back to that if you want to see more of Isidore.
Yeah, like,
Yep.
I just thought of Isidore as like an inspiration as to how he spoke per se, like because a refined man in a suit but with messy hair and then eyeglasses,
Nice.
like a refined man in a suit, messy hair, and then some eyeglasses who just has soot, who's just reeking of soot all over. He's just like, yes, I smell of smoke. What of it? I work with fireworks. There has to be a little bit of a stain or two while in the job.
Gosh.
So
there's John Freda, and then we have Cedric Hester. So.
Hello. Okay, I'll just say how I came up with him.
Yeah.
So I work at a cafe, and it's like right near like I think where like a lot of old people live. So a lot of old people come and visit where I work. One of our regulars, is like this old man in his 90s. Apparently, he used to be a magician, and he used to perform at like different schools and parties and all that. And we have his business card like pinned up on our notice board or something like that. He will come in, order 2 coffees, one for him and the other for his wife every day, and he'll always be like to me, "I'll have a good day," and sometimes he even shows me tricks, which is really, really nice.
Aww.
So, and someone in like the lobby a few months ago was joking like, "Oh, what if that guy makes us play old characters next?" And I was like, if that happens, I swear I will make my character a magician. And then it happened, so I was like, "Oh, okay, well I'm gonna make my character a magician." Yeah.
That's amazing. That is amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That is amazing. And then we have Robert Bob Day, our second eldest, or actually our oldest person. Take it away, Jesse.
I told you I like playing the oldest characters.
That's it. I just like playing the oldest characters. How did you come up with that?
I think it was a classic case of, I just want to do this all once, so I thought, hey, let's open up about 20 different Wikipedia tabs and make all the timelines make sense. So yeah, the only thing I think unrealistic about him is that he owns a bank, but even then I think I did a decent job explaining that. Dude's born day after Valentine's, his nickname Bob because that'd be tradition at the time.
Uh-huh.
Suburbs in Chicago, nice place to live, very early 1900s.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And just overall, just standard old successful career. Air quotes.
So he was a loan shark, and he is a walker as well, which is useful later on. Well, not useful to him, but useful to the story later on. By the way, I also made everyone do 2 pit crews, one of their younger selves and one of their current selves, which was fun to look at.
My guy used to actually have hair.
Oh, R.I.P. to hair. Void played Thomas Kell, who was 83 and a prosecutor. Special skills are history buff, and ailments was arthritis. And then we had Noob was playing Henry Russell, who was 91, also 5'5". Y'all love short people. He's in the army, which comes up later, and took up cooking at a McDonald's after the war. His special skills were that he is good with guns. His ailment was that he was partially deaf. So we start fresh beginnings with pretty much the fellas walk into. By the way, it's all men, which is interesting. The fellas walk into a very, very stark white room, and everyone comes in with their families who are dropping them off. I see first is that Cedric's family comes in first. Do you want to explain who all the people in Cedric's family were that dropped him off?
Okay, so very, very confusing, but like, okay, so there's, I think her name was Natalie. Let me just get like really, really quickly up there.
Yeah, it's right. It's literally the first post.
Okay, so there's the little girl there's a little girl Molly who was like 6 years old, I think. Her older sister Courtney. Some reason her boyfriend Billy decided to come along. Her and her boyfriend like to hang around Cedric's house, blasting their Blink 182 and Green Day music outside his house like really loudly. Always, it was really fun for him. Not. Then there's Natalie. Um, and I think that was all that was bringing with him. Now, so Cedric's family that comes with him is a little bit confusing, and that's probably because like, they're not. It's not his blood family, but more so his like. I don't know how you pronounce like his found family.
Yeah, sure.
I
Chosen
could
family,
say.
yeah.
I could probably say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That sounds about right.
because they were all like, they all technically the descendants of his assistant who worked him back in the day. Yeah.
Nice, nice. And who came?
Assistant,
Who
I say.
who came with? Who came to drop off John Freda? Swift. Are you there? Did Swift die? Well, well, okay.
I
Well,
am double checking.
well, while we're here, then, Robert, who brought who brought your sweet little self? Who came
So,
with old Robert,
who Robert brought?
or who brought Robert, rather?
Yes. So, who Robert brought / brought Robert, yes, was his daughter and her 2 grandsons. The daughter, and he wished his wife, but daughter Hannah and his grandsons Jonas and Harry.
Nice, 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 nice. Um, and then not Cedric. I can't remember. Henry. Henry rolls in a wheelchair. With some family, everyone else brings in their family, and they're greeted by 2 very tall, attractive beings who have very similar hair. It's their long white hair. And one of them is named Maybe, and the other one is named Faith. And they both sort of have this very cult-like guru look going about them. They have these white. I would describe them as like turtleneck white tank tops. They're very strange. Well, that's what Maybe has, and Faith has sort of this long, sort of t-shirt, white t-shirt, of course, all in white. What did you all think of when you met Maybe and Faith for the first time? Did you trust
Just
them?
thinking, oh
Were you
boy,
not
how are
sure?
they going to kill me this time?
I forgot there were some theories. I feel like there were some theories that was happening early on that like Maybe and Faith were. There's a theory that they were like they were like clones, like they themselves were clones. I remember that theory happening. But yeah,
I remember what my theory was.
so they come in and they greet everyone and they're saying, get ready to meet the master of fresh beginnings. And so of course everyone comes in, and as old people are, they're very cantankerous and want to not be standing in this room anymore, which Maybe and Faith are like kind of irritated by. But they would never show that, of course. So everyone says their goodbyes to sweet little to their somebodies, and some of them will see them again. Some of them will not, or maybe all of them won't. I don't know. So everyone comes in, and I think yeah. So they get everyone settled. I think they set you guys down in the oh yeah, they sit you guys down in a sitting room before. I believe this is when Galil shows up, I think. I'm trying to find it. Oh no, everyone gets in a circle and starts to share things. That's what it is. Everyone does a share circle because we're in very, very, yoga type situation here. And so everyone shares and tells who they are. Um, who do you think is like the least like? Do you think all of your characters were like into this share circle? Do you think this is
Oh,
like, yeah?
it gives off high school.
It gives off high school. I mean, they do this at these retreats, so that's interesting. So you're not wrong. You're not wrong. It is very high school. Um, it's it's very. I love Robert's thing. Was like, I guess I'm going then. He's just such a dude. So everyone shares all the stuff that we already learned about them, about their age and what they're up to and why they're here, maybe. And finally, Faith and maybe say, "Hey, do you guys want to meet Galil?" And he says, "Okay, why not?" And then Galil appears like an angel from above, speaks in a soft voice speaks in a soft yet deep resonant voice, saying, "Are these my new friends?" On a scale of 1 to 10, how little did you trust Galil?
I
Run.
only trusted him a little bit because I thought he was cute.
I feel like this is not the first time you've said this, Soph, about one of the characters, one of the NPCs in a CV.
On a scale of 1 to 10, my level of trust was run.
Why didn't you? I would have let you. I would have totally let you. I would have 100% let you. Can you imagine if you
Wait,
just
tell me all I need to do is survive a CV. It was just nope out of there day one.
just completely leave day one immediately, and then you could survive? That would be it. So so
I am
Galil.
not above that.
I mean, at this point, you got to try something because you're first to die every single time. You've never. Well, okay, we're not gonna spoil anything yet. So Galil says that everyone should take a swim in the hot spring. Um, so everyone, goes to the locker room and gets in whatever state of undress that they need to, and gets in the hot spring. Um, Dad, was this cute? Did we love? Oh yeah, and also Galil was saying that he was going to pull everyone one by one to have a little like chit chat about their intentions while being here. Um, so so people get out of their various wheelchairs and whatnot to get in the hot spring or not get in the hot spring. I don't know if actually did Bob get in. One of them didn't get. I think it was Henry maybe who decided not to get in. I don't remember. So everyone gets in their little hot spring moment, and let me see who goes first for the interview. Um, Let me see. Hang on. Let me see. Oh yeah, because Galil got into the hot spring as well. That's what it was. Yeah, Galil got into the hot spring as well, and was naked, I believe, and was kind of not really making these guys feel uncomfortable, which is like very old people behavior because old people love to just get naked. That's like a thing that they do. I don't know why. So eventually everyone gets in, and Galil, of course, says that he's going to be conducting little interviews, and I'm trying to see who goes first. I'm trying to
No.
get there. I know. I'm trying to figure out. Galil's time in the window. Oh, it's John. John Freda has the first interview. Hey.
Yeah, and sorry about that.
You're
But
good.
who came with John to the facility? Pretty much the entire Spanish branch that has like minus Nini and Maurice and Rosalind. So you have like his daughter Juana, and then her husband her husband, whom he always forgets his name, whom he always forgets his name too, but his name's Ethan. He's a dentist. Anyway.
Cute.
And then they have their John's grandchildren, Buendia and then Miriam. And then those two have their husbands who also took up the Freda surname because apparently John kickstarted the tradition. John kickstarted the tradition of oh yeah, you think the wives are the ones who have to carry the husband's surnames? Nope, if you're married to a Freda, your surname will be Freda regardless of your gender.
Nice.
It's
We stand.
So-
We stand. So
it helps that the clan itself was both of the leaders of the clan are just matriarchal. It's heavily matriarchal,
yes.
though it doesn't make a mention of it. So there.
We'd love to see it. So Galil calls in John, and he tells him to have a seat, and then
Yeah.
Galil says, "Tell me anything about yourself." And what does John choose to say?
I
I'll,
forgot.
I'll get you to the scene. Hang on one second. Give me 1 second. Yeah. So he asked John to tell him anything about himself. I'm gonna put this as interviews. There we go. Yes. So John asked him to tell him something about himself. And John's just like, I already told you everything when we had introductions. But you missed most of it. And Galil was like, great. That's great. Old person. And then
Yeah, John. That's just so like him. He's like, yes, I've already told about myself to most of the people present, but it's how unfortunate for your presence to be, absent.
Ooh. And then he asked, why are you here?
And then, I think John's answer to that was because, it was a suggestion of my daughter, really, and her husband. I forgot his name.
Ethan. Oh yeah. Yeah. Ethan, that was mean. I love it.
He genuinely just forgot. And then he's just like, never mind about that. If I can't remember his name at the very least, I just know that he married my daughter, and that's what matters. That kind of thing.
So John mentions Talia. Galil asks who Talia is, and he reveals that is his wife.
Natalia Freda. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And of course he's revealed that she has passed on, and they ask, Galil's pronouns are they, them. So they ask, Galil asks, how did her death pain you, and has it pained you?
Well, John just answers, it was painful-ish, but then, I got over it. I mean, not exactly. By over it, he just means, oh yes, I could still talk to her now and then. It's not like she's literally gone forever, you know. I tend to talk to her spirit now. That's what I think.
I'm just curious. How old was he when she died?
She was I think he was around 80 or 78.
Okay.
I forgot.
Because what's he, 89 now?
Or
83? How old was he at Fresh Beginnings?
I think 87.
Okay.
So just, it's either relatively recently. I purposefully left it ambiguous.
Got it.
Precisely when she died, because, her twin sister Narcissa is still alive. That's all we know. But Natalia isn't. Poor Natalia, she always gets the short end of the stick. I mean, if you have read City of Curses, you'll know what I mean. I'm side-eyeing Jesse for that one.
So then John asks why this place is so white, and Galil says white is neutral. We can project ourselves onto these walls. They're not marred by memories or people, and the colors of these walls should be like our minds, white and clear, which feels racist to me, but no. I see what he's trying to say.
Kim Kardashian thoughts.
Yes, Kim Kardashian thoughts, yes. Thank you.
White, it's just, And then John, of course, he expressed his annoyance at the color white just because of the fact that it's so boring. As someone who has worked with color his entire life, he's just like, this sucks. Like, he's just like, just a simple thing like that is just enough to make him annoyed, but then, well, but not enough to actually make him mad. Fire, you did not exploit that one weakness of John's.
I know I should have. I really should have. I missed a lot of opportunities in this one.
Yeah, but another thing that, just a little side note.
Yeah, go for it.
Like, Galil could have asked, why do you have a maiden name? Why do you have a maiden name? And then John is just like, what maiden name? I've always been afraid of. And then his maiden name of Leonido just brings unpleasant thoughts to him. And that's like the only time he will actually be mad at you. Because Leonido, yeah, he doesn't want to hear that surname again. Even though Leonido's actually a nice surname, why don't you have good taste, John? Oh, right, because it's backstory. But yeah, go proceed.
Nice. So Galil asks if John has any more questions for Zem, and John asks how your pronouns came about, and Galil says, "I do not believe I am man nor woman. I am something new." At the time, but this is set in, by the way, in 1999, so non-binary wasn't really a thing back then. It wasn't, a widespread thing back there. So so John is like, new. And then John asks how wonderful. He says how wonderful the younger generation is with their newfound discoveries, and Galil's like, great, next. So Galil sends John away, just as John was getting comfy with them, and this is the weird part. So John says, "But alas, I must give someone else the opportunity to converse. Might as well." And then Galil looks almost angrily at John and says to him, "Do not mask your pain with humor, John. It is not appealing to others and it makes you appear weak as well as false. You may go." How did John feel about that?
Do not mask your pain with humor. He's just like, my man, I've always been this happy. I've always been this happy ever since that day when I acted upon. Like, he's just, well, backstory-wise, John has no reason to really be mad at him. Like, at the very least, it didn't touch, like, a very sensitive nerve, which was his maiden name. Not to mention, like Galil, like, John isn't really affected because Galil doesn't know all about him.
True.
Like, if he had known, okay, sorry for that.
I know, it's tough for me too, yeah.
If Zay had known exactly why, like, John just remains smiling, he's just, like, the thing about John is just that, like, regardless of whether he is mad or whether he's just annoyed, like, he still has that grin on his face, like, you're just wondering, why are you not affected by anything? Why? But my explanation for that is because he's trying to keep up, like, a pleasant front. That's his misguided way of putting up a pleasant front for everyone. To him, it seems like he's being polite, but then to everyone else, it's either unnerving at best, like, it's either, well, unnerving at the very least worst, or it's just downright unnerving at best, or just downright foreboding at worst.
Yeah.
He just has that grin on his face. It makes you wonder how exactly has he kept a marriage up for 60 plus years if he. Well, but then again, I mean, in one universe he managed to like stay completely married with a significant other before.
But you will see later weird things about John that are coming up. Don't you worry. So Galil sends John out. Faith and Maybe are standing over the hot springs, looking over the new guests, and they give each other an innocent smile before they go indoors towards the kitchen. Faith says, "So what do you think?" Maybe says, "I like them. For old people, they seem rather kind and gentle." Pfft, that's not true. Faith says, "Pfft," until we start giving them bedtimes. Perhaps they will like the regiment, or perhaps they will not like being told what to do. And Maybe says, "You're sounding very negative right now." And Faith says, "You're right. I'm sorry." Faith sighs and looks at Maybe and kisses them. They say, "All right," and they're going to make smoothies right now, but not before they start making out. Were you all surprised by the fact that Maybe and Faith are in some sort of relationship? Did it surprise you? Did it shock you?
No. It's a fire character. Nothing surprises me.
No? Okay. Fair enough. So they start making out away from the folks, and the next victim is Thomas. Thomas comes in, and Galil asks Thomas to use 3 words to describe yourself. And Thomas says, "Oh, it's weird. All right, son of A." That's what Thomas says, son of A. And Galil is amused by that. It's funny because Galil was not so amused when John tried to use humor, but was amused when Thomas did. I don't know why. I do know why. So Thomas, Thomas decides to take over the interview and says, "I have a few questions I'd like to ask." And Thomas says, "For starters, is there an accessible broom closet here?" And Galil says, "Faith and Maybe need only have access to the broom closet, but I assure you we do have one, and we will clean up stuff if you need to." And Thomas says, "Would you mind showing it to me?" This was interesting. That didn't really have any boding on the future of the story, but Galil leads Thomas all the way down into this area with a broom closet, and shows him the broom closet, which was very interesting. And then they go back up. I don't know why Void wanted to do this. It never came up again, but it was an interesting scene nonetheless. So they come back up, and Robert gets his smoothie. Faith and Maybe are passing out smoothies to everyone. And then Galil takes up Robert, old Robert, and wheels him into the meeting room. He asks Robert how the facilities are going so far, and he has a lot of nice things to say. What do you think about this interview process? Did you have any tactics, Jesse? Did you have any plans for what you're going to do or say?
I could make the easy joke, but I kind of don't want to.
Did you plan on getting killed? Did you plan on getting
I was
killed
just going to say
first?
survive. It's
Oh,
a
poor
running
Jesse.
gag at this
Poor
point.
Jesse. It's so funny. Gosh, it never happens.
Just in 2020. So,
uh,
interview, what did you...
yeah.
So pretty much all
Yeah,
Robert
go ahead.
talks about was, oh yeah, his wife. He hates losing his mobility. His wife.
Yeah, he really likes his wife. What do you think? Do they have a really nice relationship? You think?
Yes.
Yeah, clearly, because he
Probably married for like 55 years, having a daughter, having grandkids. Pretty much checked off every single box you want.
very much the American dream. That old guy.
He was born in the suburbs of Chicago. What do you expect?
So Galil asks, "If you died tomorrow, how would you spend your final day?" And of course, like a real family man, he says, "With my daughter and 2 grandsons, going to a White Sox game." Oh gosh, he's so American. Um, God, good lord. Yeah. So so Khalil hears that very very American answer and is like, "Okay, great, you can go," and says, "Will you need help getting out?" And Robert, I'm surprised actually. Robert allows the assistance. Robert doesn't seem super proud about immobility.
No, but if something is free, he's not gonna deny it.
I like that, and honestly, same, truly same. So, the next victim is old Cedric, um, and he gets Cedric all in and asks him to tell him about or tell Zem about your greatest memory in detail, because I know
Oh god.
and I did that because I know that Soph loves a dream sequence. Honestly, I just played into Soph's love of dream sequences.
Every single writing session I did for this whole role play drained me so hard. Honestly.
So explain to us this memory.
So okay, let me just.
I will
Yeah.
I will link you there. Hang
Okay, I
on.
think you're.
Yeah. Um yeah, here is Sed's memory. Oops, that's not it. It's this.
Yeah, I love just two.
Just 2 stars.
Okay,
Yeah, so just briefly take us through
okay, so
the gist of this memory.
Cedric gives a little bit of backstory about who he is, like, typical gist. Then he talks about his assistant Franklin. And then he starts talking about how his mom wants him to settle down when he's going to settle down, have kids and stuff like that his because all of his other siblings have kids and stuff. But he's like, oh no, I'm just too busy to have children. Yeah. So it's New Year's Eve, 1949. He and Franklin go to his house, to his family's house for a New Year's Eve party because his mom was like, "Oh, I want to meet Franklin." So that happens, and Franklin doesn't have much family. Only his mother's back in Tampa, Florida. Um, then they decide to go leave at around 9:30 to go end decade partying in San Francisco parties. Um, they go bar hopping and stuff, and then they go. Then Frankie drags him by the arm to a good spot where they can watch the New Year's fireworks. And then Franklin's like, "Oh, Cedric, do you ever see yourself settling down?" And he's like, and Cedric asks him, "Do you ever see yourself settling down?" And then they're both like, "Well, maybe someday." But and then Cedric starts looking at him, starts admiring him, and then let me just click that. And then Cedric's like, "Do I think of him as a good?" And then Cedric was like to Galil, "Oh, do I see him as a good friend or not?" I was uncertain about that. And then they both address like all compliments to each other. And then the minute the clock turned to January 1st, 1950, he found his first love, Cedric.
Oh.
Y'all,
So
I love them. They get a happy ending too, in another world. Not this one though.
Yeah, definitely not this one.
Yeah.
So then Galil sends in Haru, which Galil immediately picks up on something that Haru has not been talking about, and asks, "Do you find me attractive, Mr. Takahashi?" To which Haru gave a soft chuckle and says, "Is this a trick question? I believe you're an attractive person on the outside, but I do not know you well enough to say for the inside." And Khalil says, "I wish for you to know me inside and out when the time is right." And Haru says, "Is that so?" And and Khalil's like, "Great, let's end this session before we start doing bad stuff." Did you all sort of did you all sort of wonder the ethicalness of Galil hitting on one of the patients? Did it feel gross? No, not at all.
Fire, you wrote this character. I think I've been desensitized, and I think everyone has.
That's fair. That is fair. Um, so so everyone finishes, and the next activity is a yoga class, which is going to be led by Galil and flanked by both Maybe and Faith. So this is the first time we start doing roles. And here I will link you all to the yoga bit. There we go. And so everyone does pretty well. I mean, the funny thing about how well everyone does is that it doesn't quite match up with everyone's ailments, which is kind of funny. Like, I think Henry, who's wheelchair bound, did really well on some of the stuff. I remember Cedric doing very terribly. I think he rolled a bunch of ones. Or maybe just one. I'm seeing 1-1 anyway.
I mean, it's yoga. I mean,
It was great.
Cedric tries to breathe, it goes into a violent coughing fit and is doubled over in pain.
Oh yeah, it was great. It was great. So everyone has a decent yoga session, and then maybe and Faith bring the folks down to their sleeping quarters, which is sort of set up like a hexagon or something. And of course, it's all in white. It's called a panopticon. That's what it's called. And they leave all the folks in their rooms, and of course, in the center, there is a call button, which is probably the 7th character in the story, thanks to Thomas.
Oh my god.
Oh boy.
The best Stevie invention of all time.
Oh,
Fuck
God.
the other cryptids. That is a cryptid in itself.
That is a cryptid in itself. And it certainly was my cryptid, that's for sure. So everyone goes into their rooms, and maybe in Faith have a little ride up the elevator. Excuse me. And they sort of have a little gossip set, not really a gossip set, where they're chit-chatting about the guests. And then Faith says, "Are you seeing Galil tonight?" And maybe says, "No, I think he wants to see you." And then maybe says, "I already saw them." And then maybe says, "We get it, Faith. You're the more popular one than me." Faith says, "It's nothing like that." And maybe says, "I'll have to step up my game next time." They come to a split in the hallway. Maybe says, "I'll see you back in a few hours," or Faith says, "Maybe." And then maybe, of course, rolls her eyes, because dumb joke, and walks away. So it becomes clear that Maybe and Faith are in some sort of triad. Well, actually, I guess it's not a triad. It's a throuple with Galil. And I would ask you how you felt about that, but I'm assuming that the response will be Jesse saying it's a fired roleplay. So clearly, no.
I was actually quite surprised by it.
Okay, great. Okay. God damn it. Did it change how you felt about them? Did you change how you felt about the characters? Were you like, what?
And yes, but also no.
Interesting. Okay. So Faith goes to Galil's room and kind of expresses concerns about Maybe and the fact that Galil isn't seeing Maybe as much as Faith. And then they go do the nasty. They lights down, and they do the nasty. And then back in the resting quarters, folks are hanging out and chilling, and chit-chatting. I don't think anything really crazy happens here, except for the fact that Thomas discovers the big red button that is in the center of the room, which is the call button, which Thomas begins. And this is so funny, because Void DM'd me when this was happening, and was like, "Can I press the button?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And he was like, "Can I press the button a lot?" And I was like, "Do whatever you want to do." So that became Thomas's whole personality, was pressing that fucking button. Which was great. And poor Maybe had to endure the button pressing. And press the intercom and ask if something was going on, if there was a problem. And then Thomas, being the fucking ding-dong ditcher that he is, was like, "No, there's no problem. Why would there be a problem?" Oh, God. I feel so bad for Maybe at this point, because I'm just like, oh, God, fucking Thomas. Can you just imagine, like, being called upon with a loud buzzer every 5 seconds? That would be so annoying.
I didn't think I'd feel bad for a fire character that had a face, but then the CV proved me wrong.
Thank you. I agree. Poor Maybe. Maybe gets a lot of shit in this one. So Maybe pulls the pillow over their face in quiet frustration. Oh, here's a good question. Who do you think your characters vibe the most with early on in this part? I'm gonna link you all to this area. But who do you think you all were vibing with first? Your characters were all vibing with first. don't all jump at once. So,
It's really difficult because like you know how I usually always play like the lone one,
yeah,
like the one that
that's
doesn't
true.
go with any group or anything.
That is true, and it's not served you yet. Oh gosh.
I'm not sure if I really did go with like anyone. I'm pretty sure Cedric mostly just went with went with everyone. Like he sometimes got with like some other people at the same time.
True.
Yeah.
True. Oh, poor Cedric. Who was Robert vibing with? Did Robert get any friends?
I think the closest thing he had to a friend at that point was Galil.
Wow, that is wild to me. That's interesting.
I know who he hated though.
Oh, who did he hate?
Thomas.
Fucking Thomas. And Swift. What about John? Who do you think John? John sort of got along. Kind of the opposite. Like John really got along with Thomas, I think. Oh, Swift is muted. Yeah, John got along with Thomas, it seemed, which I think really plays a part later on, because we're starting to see a little bit of John's chaotic nature come through. Just a wee bit. So let me see what the next thing is. Why are we rolling? Did he ask about? Oh yeah, because so Faith comes back to Maybe's room and it's like, oh, Maybe's like, did Galil ask about me? And Faith is like, sure. So I think it's the next day after this part. Oh no, this is when Thomas and John start setting flame to the sleeping quarters. So John has a lighter in his bag, and teams up with the equally chaotic Thomas, and sees if they can burn down the sleeping quarters. And it's just John says, "Fire is a comforting thing for me. I find it mesmerizing to behold, to see it before my eyes. Oh goodness." Which is great. You don't want John in your house. He's a little bit crazy.
Or maybe you do. Insurance pays big.
That's true, actually.
Yeah.
I take it back.
So
We don't want John in our house because we just get big money.
Yes. So, so we have Swift back. Tell us about the relationship between John and Thomas.
well, first of all, that's like the second character named Thomas whom a character of mine is associated with.
Heh,
That's one.
nice.
Back to back, no less.
Heh,
Mm-hmm. So the second thing is that, oh yeah, John, Freda, and Thomas Kell. Like meta-wise, their surnames are like it just brings back to mind Castellan and Carter from Mystery. Say, that's another one. Like their descendants would indirect or direct descendants would eventually like meet up. That's another one. A third thing is that those two just instantly clicked. They were just both like fucking goofballs.
yeah, I guess
Goofballs at their finest.
goofballs who want to
Goofballs
burn
at
down
their-
the place.
Burn shit up. Or
God
just
damn it.
in John's case, it's just like, oh yeah, I'm going to like sear everything up because like I actually researched about a little bit about why pyromaniacs like burn up or they need like a lighter. Like oftentimes it's like their source of calming down.
Yeah.
It's like their way of like either keeping themselves happy or keeping themselves calm. And so
What is
yeah.
it for John?
So like for John it's actually like his way of keeping himself happy because keeping himself happy and calm because like just due to backstory reasons and the fact that he does not know, simply put, like his mental state wasn't too kind to him, so he doesn't know how to socialize really. So he needs to burn something, or he needs to light up his lighter at the very least to keep himself at you could just say like at at a calming state
So,
ish.
so talk us through the burning scene with Thomas when
Oh
he tries
yeah.
to burn the cons. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So John is just like, yep, let's just try burning something up. They just took off some of their attire, thankfully not stripping down naked, because let's face it, even John has his standards. So yeah, they stripped off their ties, stripped off their jackets, and then just decided to burn it up in the comms room.
Oh my
Fun.
god. And so what
Just
happens?
burn.
How far did they get? How good did they get it?
Well, it was a nice open fire to the point that they could roast marshmallows over it.
My
And
god.
then John decides to have, like, because of the white color, he just had enough of there being white not only on the walls and the ceiling but also the furniture. God damn it!
Yeah, he really didn't
And
like
then John
the
was
white.
nope, it's just he just didn't like it at all because it's just plain boring. You think he has a backstory reason for that? No, he just hates it. He just hates the fact that it's so monotone. It's just so monotone. It's so, ugh. It's hardly architectural class if it's just simply one color.
Mm-hmm.
Who would be? He would just ask everyone today, like, who is so much of an asinine person to purchase to even consider such a renovation where all of it is simply the plain, ugly white.
Hey,
So they lightly burn one of the couches, which
Yeah.
frickin' chaos. And so we move on to the next morning where we finally have some brekkie together, some breakfast together, and Faith and Faith and maybe pretty much get most of the group up, but realize they have left someone. Poor Robert has awoken later than everyone else, and freaks out because he's all by himself. And this is like my least favorite Robert moment. 'Cause he's such a fucking dick about it. But I guess I get it. I don't know. Yeah.
yeah,
So
you see, this is why he hates Thomas.
yeah. So take us through this scene, this little mini scene. Hang on, I will.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the reason why I so is just I just probably wasn't feeling good that day,
Yeah.
which works usually it works in my favor in these instances because so he was just out.
Yeah.
Like if a log got knocked out by Floyd Mayweather without annihilate on the dark side of the moon out.
My God. My God. Yeah. And so, who is it?
So he wakes
Yeah.
up later, sees Thomas left behind, and he tries to press the button because that guy needed help.
My
He
God.
was scared, alone, and old. And the button doesn't work.
Because someone broke it.
Fucking someone
Entered the
broke it.
disdain for a character.
Oh gosh. So yeah, so Robert gets taken up and it's by Faith. Yeah, Faith takes Robert up and decides
Robert
to
is not a mean person.
and
It
decides
takes a lot for him to get mad.
so he decides to he wants to bring Thomas up, but decides to leave him there. And Galil says, we'll let Thomas do his solo activities. Since today will be a solo exercise anyway. So they make smoothies for everyone, perfectly okay smoothies, and you should always trust the food in the CVs. And so Galil says we're gonna do something that we're gonna get to know each other better. And says he wants to come up with me. Haru's the first one. And this is where I made you all do some long form writing, partially because Fire needed a break, and also because you all like to write. So it worked out. It was a win-win for everyone. So on the third floor, there's a thing called the memory chamber, which is where Galil would basically extract the memories, not extract, but record the memories of the person and use them for things that we will talk about in a second. So we're gonna skip over the folks who are not here. I'm trying to see who that is here went first. Let
Say,
yes, go ahead.
I thought the first memory chamber rule is all about long form writing.
Yep. It was like long form writing. I was like, at least you know what? I have Swift and Soph in here. As long as I have those two, we'll be fine. So let me see. I'm trying to see who went first. Well, I see Haru went first. Oh yes, of course Cedric went. And I asked for. So I asked you to roll. And I said, tell me the first time you met Frankie. That's what it was. Was that the
Yeah,
big one?
and that was an earlier flashback that you told me just to reuse free peppers into that one, and I was like,
yes.
okay, if that saves me from writing more, I'll do it.
And then I asked for a memory of Cedric's mother, which was that's right. What was the hardest memory to write?
Oh, the one where he was like, "Tell me a moment that you got scared," because I think you told me to do 4 memories. I know you told me to do one I know you asked me a question that's like, "Where do you like to go vacation on?" Then there was the one where you told me, "Where did you meet Frankie?" And then there was the one with the mother, and then they told me the one where he got scared, and I was like, "Oh god, that one was really hard to write." Oh my god, because I was like,
tell me that
I think I wrote like 2 pages worth of that one.
I'm going to link you to it right now.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, it was like, I think it was like over like 1,000 words on like Microsoft Word, and it wouldn't even post on Discord. And I had this whole situation where I was like, "Oh my god, it won't post." And I was messaging Fire and like Zoe, I think, being like, "Oh my god, it won't post. I might have to put it in a separate Google Doc. It's that big." And I was like, "Oh, it was because mobile. I did all the writing on mobile, and it didn't tell me. It doesn't tell me if I go over the word limit." So I was like on my, and that was like on my, and I did that on my. Yeah, I posted it then. It doesn't even look that big on the.
It really isn't. It's so funny.
It really isn't. Like, I don't know why I was like, oh my god.
I think it's just because of the paragraph spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So what was like the gist of this this memory? That's all. Have you guys pick your favorite of the memories since there were 4? We won't go through all 4. We'll just go through one each.
So Cedric's in the hospital, like worrying about Franklin because he got into hospital just earlier over an accident when they were performing, and I was like, oh my god, is he gonna die? Turns out Franklin's okay, and he's like, oh my god, I'm so worried. I almost got you killed. I am so sorry. And he was like, oh no. And Franklin was like, oh no, it's fine. And he was even laughing at it. It's like, so just like, what's so amusing? And he was like, oh, were you really that worried about me? And I was like, oh no, I'll be plenty around. I'll be around for a long time, you know. It'll be much more than a silly little accident to get rid of me. Yeah. Yeah, that ages well, I'm just gonna say.
Yeah. Aww.
Oh no, and no. I love this bit. Cedric was like, just promise me one thing, frankly. Please don't put me through that stress ever again. And then Frank was like, I can't promise I won't, but I'll try. Is that better?
So sad, because he does.
I
know. Not really, but kind of. So Cedric comes back down.
He goes to sleep for like a week.
Yeah, goes to sleep for a week. The next one we have here is for John. I linked you Swift to all of John's memories. Oh, Swift just muted herself.
I'm pinging her to try and get her back.
She's such a fickle one, that Swift. Goodness.
She has her reasons. I'll just say that.
So we'll hang. Let me go to if Swift's not ready, I will go to Robert's, because I think Robert was next. Here, let me see. Yeah, I will go to Robert.
I just heard this short line. Robert conks out pretty early.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. So what was your favorite Robert memory? There we go.
Now you only had me do 2 of them.
Yeah,
I'm just quickly scouring which one, because I liked both of them.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to tell us about both of them, you can do that too. Give us the gist.
First one's the easier one. First one was first time your heart was broken. Most people assume, a breakup, or like your family dog dies. No. he went to a White Sox, or he went to a Cubs game. Yeah, he was freaking switched teams.
Yeah, I
Um,
thought he was all about the White Sox.
yeah, he probably grew up at the Cubs, got salvaged to switch to the White Sox.
Wow.
So I had to look this up because I remember, the Cubs would have gone to a World Series around the time he was, a child to adolescent.
Uh-huh.
So I googled up a certain game which they had lost, and oh yeah, so Robert goes with his mother to a World Series game between the Cubs and the Red Sox in 1918. This is real.
Oh,
His
wow.
father was still fighting, at the tail end of World War One, which was also real at the time. And so he chose on the team. And I started typing out all the little runs scored and big plays on the score sheet. And low scoring game, the excitement's are there. Come on, Cubs, win! The
Yeah.
Cubs are gonna come back. I know it.
Oh.
And of course, there was a ground ball that shattered Robert's young and passionate heart like a bullet to a wine glass.
Oh. Something as easy as
And
baseball.
they just lost the World Series.
Oh God. Oh God. I love how that's the saddest thing.
And anyone who's ever been to a sporting event would know how he feels.
Gosh. Do we have a Swift back? Can Oh, is she back? Did she return? I don't know.
The fire just gonna type you something.
We can move on though, but so everyone gets like their memories. I keep wanting to call it extracted, but it's not extracted. It's like I don't know what to call it, but basically they're used for something. So after each person's time in the memory chamber, they get very very tired, and they have to go to sleep. As Soph put, goes to sleep for a week, which is great. Um, and it comes to the realization that these are all used to create some sort of beings, because the next day everyone wakes up to the younger version of themselves, which is interesting. I would say if you all were surprised by that, but you all know what the CV is, so well, technically it's
I
not
was actually
exactly that.
surprised.
Yeah, I was like, it's actually not technically that. So, yeah. So, what did you think about your younger self showing up, or your
Well,
character?
my immediate thought was, oh, so that's what the younger picture was for.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Uh huh.
Like
Uh-huh.
that was the obvious part. And
Uh-huh.
then, oh yeah, like I was picked in Bonfire Bar just for some reason.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask you about your favorite memory, because I know I asked you to do a couple, but I was gonna pick your favorite one.
But the favorite one between the two that I wrote down was that like the one where much of the family has been gathered for a reunion. And it marks the return of a certain CB character of mine, the only survivor.
Oh, dating
The only sur-
game.
Yep, the only survivor of my roster, which is Trevor, because and just for reference, I think Trevor this takes place in like the 1980s, like after Francisco Franco is like dead, so there's no reason for them to live in fear anymore. So what's this? Yeah, like so Trevor around this time is probably in his 40s or 50s, and then John is like in his 60s John's probably like in his 60s or 70s. I don't keep track, but
Mm-hmm.
otherwise he has a conversation with him. Otherwise, things are just going swimmingly there. They've all gathered up to see the firework. Like, of course, John being one of the advantages that the Freda clan has when doing events is that they already have a fireworks. They have a pyrotechnics expert to do like all the fancy schmancy explosions in the air. So yeah, they could just simply ask him, yeah, can you set up like a few fireworks here just for my daughter's, just for your niece's birthday, please? And then he's just like, no problem, I'm gonna go do it because it means working with fire and working, and then along with working with like a few others who are just his kid. The most surprising part about like the entire clan is just the fact that for all of their for all of John's eccentricities, like they just simply like they just don't mind it at all. They're just yeah, he's still like if they were like confronted with the reality that oh yeah, he killed people, it's just like so what? He's also our family member. We're not just gonna turn him away just because just because he shed some blood here and there. It's fine. Like no, like just because he did some little intentional accidents while he was back in 1930 something. It's fine. Yeah,
Nice.
but
Nice.
yeah, so it's the fireworks show, and then Natalia's just, and it turns out that part of the fireworks display was dedicated to his wife. So just like the reason why he holds his wife in such a high regard is because his wife was genuinely the first to treat him very kindly. She was just she looked past all of his uh all of his eccentricities, and it's just like she just speaks to him normally. Like she doesn't speak to him as if she's weirded out by him. She just speaks to him.
Right.
And that's probably what he needed. So there.
Nice. Nice. So everyone is confronted with their younger selves. What did you think of your younger self showing up? What did John Freda think?
He just thought, oh, he's just being cue him being so vain, just being like, oh, how it's just exactly like me when I was younger. Oh, or even then, like when I was younger, or what little I remember of myself when I look at the mirror. Because at the very least, he's such a handsome man. Like he's just complimenting himself in a sense now. Oh yeah, he just looks so he's quite a looker.
Oh my god.
He's just wow. Like he's just stunned by the fact that they managed to like bring his younger likeness back to the point of near perfection. Like just it's just wonderful. He's just what how much of a joy it is for me to see him in the flesh.
My god.
Just the younger me. He's just so wonderful.
So how did Robert feel?
Simply put, how Robert felt. His dialogue says it perfectly. Well, good morning. I miss my hair. It looks so good.
Oh, that is sad. That's actually now I genuinely feel bad for Robert.
The dude's the only one in the group that's bald.
Oh, I mean the man's in his 90s. I think cut him some slack.
Well, guess what? He had 40 years to deal with it. He never got over it.
I know Soph is muted. I don't know. Oh, there you are.
I'm here.
How did Cedric feel? That's
pretty stunned, honestly.
Oh.
Like he's just here, like, the hell is going on? And he was like, and Glow was like, "Oh, are you surprised?" And he looks at him and is like, "Surprised? You're putting me a perfect replica of my younger self, and that's how you expect me to act?"
Yeah, I mean that's true. It's like, yeah. So then everyone gets moved upstairs to have some breakfast, and Galil says, "We're not doing smoothies today. We're gonna do whatever you want. We're gonna whip it up in the kitchen, and you're going to teach your younger self how to eat, how to move through the world, how to do all this stuff,
How to breathe.
And Cedric's just like, I am basically taking care of a baby while I'm meant to be in my final resting place.
Yeah, I know. That's so funny. It's just like, aren't I supposed to be taken care of? Like,
get him out of there right now.
Great. So people, the younger selves are mimicking mouth movements and all kinds of stuff. And basically, they announced that today is going to be where you have basically a little private date with your younger self, and you get to spend some time. with them. I'm trying to see who does the first thing. Go through these solo dates.
I would say I do like how Robert said, I that give a smile. I guess my wife was right. When I get to heaven, I owe her $5.
God.
At the smile.
Oh.
I'd be friends with Robert.
Would you? I think I would too, actually. As corny as he is.
I think that's what makes him fun.
He's a corny man. So let me see. Oh, well, let's start with you, actually, Jesse. So, what do you remember Robert's solo date with old young Robert?
I remember the swimming part. What's the start?
Yeah. Oh boy.
I recall.
Yeah, I gotta find that.
Where you and I rolled so perfectly, we had the exact same tally at the end.
So we'll set it up. So it was so basically Robert and young Robert decided to have a little bit of a swimming contest because it seemed like the U's like really were competitive about wanting to learn about what their older selves do. And
Where
so
young Robert decided not to wear anything
nope.
when he got in.
Yep, very intimidating. He was like, "Remember this penis? Doesn't look like that anymore, does it, buddy?" So that's I should have included that dialogue in the CV. Remember this
God,
penis?
Robert will have a clap back.
So yeah, so they have a swimming contest, and I think Robert wins by a little bit. Wait, who wins that one? I know
I think I got
I
mad
know
at the
we
end
both slept since then.
because yeah,
Young Robert says, "Oh yeah, prepare to get in the pool. I'm going to link you to it. I have it. I just found it."
young Robert barely wins, I
Yeah,
believe. Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Um,
I remember counting all the rolls and they both tied up to like 31 total.
oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Which means it
Yes.
should have been a tie. Fire.
Well, I mean, you say it should have been a tie, but so anyway, um, uh,
Then
let me see.
arm wrestling.
Yeah, then arm wrestling, which I think older Robert won that one, right?
Yeah, and I think young Robert stormed off afterwards.
Yeah, young Robert was not having the fact that older Robert was stronger than him. At least in that part, revenge will be had.
Ah, my
Revenge.
stuff may not work, but at least my arms are stronger than yours.
Oof, and he did not like that, did he? And it seemed like older Robert was like genuinely trying to get to know him. Like he wasn't trying to be competitive or mean. Was he? How did he feel about the
Rob,
competitiveness of this?
Robert was just trying to have a good time. That's what he thought, with the swimming part was that he was just, the young Robert was having fun with him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was and always was very innocent in how he thought.
My gosh. Um. So, and then it's the I keep calling them the Fredas. John Freda, young John and older John, go out to the tennis courts to knock him back a couple times, to have a little tennis match. Um, and things don't go very well. Older John, I believe, wins the tennis match. Because young John has a bit of a tantrum about it. And but he entices young John with some lighter play. Starts showing up with a lighter, flicking it on and off, being like, I'll check out the flames." And young John is, getting some ideas. Very, 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 very interested in this whole flame thing. Let's see. And then I'm trying to remember what Cedric's double date was the pinball machine. I know Sophie had to BRB for a little bit, but they go down to a.
I'm back right
Oh,
now.
there
I'm
you
just
are.
eating.
Do you want to tell us about the game date that the Cedrics had?
Oh yeah, they went to the arcade because I was like, they really have an arcade in this fucking old person facility. with all these people, you'd think that they wouldn't have something like this if they're like the kind of people that paint all their walls white. I was like, why did they have that? So I was like, okay, well, I'll go up there and see what it is. There was the pinball machine, the racing game, and the Tekken style fighting game.
Yeah.
Those 3 machines, like, gives off restaurant kids party playroom vibes. But anyway, Cedric plays the pinball machine. I think he won that one, but he looks to his side and sees. Yeah, he won that one. He looks to his side, see that his younger self's doing surprisingly pretty good for himself. So, and then they were like, and then he has like enjoyment over his face and stuff like that. So then young Cedric takes older Cedric to the racing game, which Cedric fails terribly at because he is out of touch with these technologies. And then they go to the fighting game, which I think Cedric won by like a very, very short margin. And young Cedric wasn't too happy about that one and walks away walks away in rage.
Yeah, it seems like all the younger counterparts lost, at least in the end, and they really didn't like that. This is probably your worst rolling CV you've ever had, Soph, I think.
I know, it was so bad.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, Soph is rolling really poorly. So yes, that is what happens. Haru has a very interesting moment with his younger self, who they go out to the flower garden to sort of hang out and chill and teach each other things. And young Haru kisses older Haru, which I would do that if I was encountering myself. And older Haru is like, that's weird, but okay. And then the Henrys have probably the easiest date of all, where they just younger Henry just rides around, sits on Henry's lap and rides around the scooter, which is cool. And then they go out to see the Harus and hang out and chill. And then, of course, younger Thomas goes downstairs with older Thomas, and they, of course, press the button. They just keep pressing that fucking button. That goddamn button.
The greatest plot point in any CV ever.
Truly the greatest plot point. The button. The button. So everyone has a little, little date moment with their younger selves. Some ends really well, some doesn't end super great. And I'm trying to think of what happens the next. Is it the next day? When they're a lot more. I'm trying to see what the transition to when the younger selves get a lot more human-like. Oh yeah, so maybe comes around and gathers up all of the younger selves and says, "Oh, we gotta get them to bed." And maybe it's like, okay, great. So maybe gathers up everybody, and as he gets the older folks down to bed and then younger folks to their chambers, maybe expresses some uncertainty about Thomas to Galil, saying this is probably not a good idea for him to be here because it seems like Thomas may have dementia because he keeps being fixated on that button. To which Galil boldly says, we can handle anything. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. And Faith is like, no, you don't understand. Like, we are not a hospital. He needs real medical care. And so they have a bit of a tiff. And yeah, it seems like Galil is not doing so well with Zare's subordinates. And so after a while, I'm trying to see if this is like the next day or if this is the same day when Phase 3 begins.
I think it all happened in the same day.
Same day. There you go. Thank you.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, I think you're right too. So Galil, Faith, and maybe meet up in the machine chamber room, and they kind of have a very big blowout. maybe gets really upset because they feel like Faith and Galil are ganging up on them, basically calling them out for fucking each other. And maybe is, Galil is gatekeeping, girl bossing, and gaslighting, maybe. Saying, do you think you're perhaps being a tad emotional right now? And maybe he's like, you are literally supposed to be a therapist. Why are you antagonizing me right now? This is like anti-therapist behavior. So Galil's, is expressing like, I knew you would get like this. I knew you would get upset about this. Like, you don't understand. How could you not understand? And maybe is like not letting Zem get away with it. Like, basically calls Galil out for being a mishandler of elders, like essentially committing elder abuse. And Galil basically says that, well, it doesn't matter because we've already started phase 3. You're going to see how this is going to work because we started phase 3. And maybe he's like, phase 3, why would we start phase 3? How would we have known that? And it's revealed that Galil has put, Galil and or Faith has put hallucinogenics in everyone's food. So everyone's about to go trippin', which is awesome. So how did Cedric's trip go? How did it manifest itself? I'm about to, I guess I'll start. Yeah, I'll link you to the trips. See, it's funny, we're almost at the end. Not a whole lot happens.
Yeah. I think everything happens in the span of like 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny this is the longest CV because not a ton of stuff happens, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
So Cedric bumps into Robert in the first floor hallway, and young Robert's like, oh, fuck off. And he was like, oh, it's just youth and rebellious attitude, and he continues to walk down the hallway. Then again, he bumps into young Robert, and Robert's like, hey, I told you to fuck off. And then Cedric just looks at him, and he's just like, he gives him like this statement that's just like, you're telling me to fuck off. Well, I'll let you know that I'm about to, as you say, fuck off. And maybe you should go do the same thing and perhaps find a better attitude in doing so. And then young Robert just walks away, and Cedric's like, oh, you I got defeated. And he was like, oh, where's Robert? I should go see if he's doing great. The upper right. So then Cedric bumps into young Robert again, but this time he's holding someone's hand, and he's like, oh my fucking god, just fuck off, bruh. Yeah. And then he bumps into him again. And it turns out it's Frankie, and he's like, oh my, and I was just like, when I saw this, oh my god, I knew this was gonna happen. Anyway.
Oh, did you call this? Did you know this was gonna happen?
Yeah, I knew it was gonna happen.
I love it.
Like, I knew Frankie was somehow gonna come back, and I was just there like, oh my goodness. So Cedric doesn't even care that Frankie's holding Robert's hand. He's just like, oh my god, I get to see him again. I've seen him after all these years. And he's like, Frankie, please, wait up. So, and then he sees young Robert pushing Frankie, like, kissing him, but Cedric doesn't care because all that matters to him is that Frankie's there to him, and then Cedric's just like, oh, that's pretty pathetic. I mean, I know, Frankie, you were the one that you were always attracting people everywhere you went. That was your quote-unquote expertise, but really, this was your choice. So I think you could have chosen much better. And then he turns to young Robert and he's like, what about you? I know Robert sometimes brought up a wife of his. What was her name again? Susie? Oh, wait, I remember now. It was Susie, right? What about her? I wonder what she would think if she saw you with him right now. Oh, it would be a shame, wouldn't it? And then... And then Frankie goes to Cedric longingly, and then young Robert just yanks his arm back, holds him up to the door by the hip of his neck. This no longer feels intimidate, quote, fire. Unquote. And then Cedric just looks at him and is like, I see how it is now. Don't you remember the phase treat others you want to be treated? It looks like it certainly doesn't apply to you. I mean, you're not only a cheater, but you also like to cheat people terribly. And then he's like, and then Cedric realizes he has a strength, unlike young Robert, is that he knows Franklin, and that he's certainly strong, able to break his way out of all these different stunts and life-threatening tricks of East. Robert's never seen that, but Cedric, he was there to see it, to truly believe it. And then he's just like to young Robert, you know what the difference is between you and Frankie? You're weak. And then young Robert goes to him, he's like, what'd you fucking say to me? You want to square up? And then...
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and then I'm just scrolling down.
I know, they were like doing all these at the same time.
Yeah. I think I took a while to write my response as well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, because I think we're gonna get to the big moment. We'll pause on yours, and
Okay.
we'll go to Robert's. Robert's is
Okay.
probably one of my favorite ones to do.
There you
So,
go. Wake me to that because I'm lost.
oh yeah. I will find where Robert's trip starts.
I
Oh,
love this.
I think this is. Oh yeah, because Robert's fallen and he can't get up, which is my favorite. Shout out to Life Alert.
I knew someone had to get that reference.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, here we go. Here we go. Yeah. So after Robert, I have it right here. After young Robert leaves older Robert, he like slams the door and the pool room locks. So essentially, Robert is trapped in there, and he's fallen over as well. And then his trip begins. What happens in the trip? Take us through it.
So he's in his high quality banking office in Chicago, where he's kind of self aware, thinking, he's like, oh, something just happened that seemed out of the blue, and then all of a sudden now I'm in Chicago. What's going on? Then Robert's secretary comes in, where you didn't even know the name. You could have came up with something, but you didn't.
I was letting you
So
do all of the work.
fair enough. So
Miss
then, okay, nice
Mrs.
little.
Apple. I love your names, by the way. Robert Day, Mrs. Apple. What are these Candyland characters? Jesus.
Just forget Circle's character was Dina Maple.
All
uh,
of fucking DBS's characters are like just fucking Candyland characters. I love it.
might as well.
John
So,
Licorice.
so Robert and Miss Apple have a nice little conversation. Couple comes in. They didn't have an appointment. They were walk-ins. He accepts walk-in no matter if it's legal or illegal.
Mm-hmm.
So they sit down, little conversation. They apparently had a loan. I call bull, and they're
Okay.
asking for another one.
Interesting.
So if they're building a house in probably the 1950s, makes sense to have another loan because you might have run out. They seem nervous. Robert, the quick-witted man, calls him out on it. Then he notices there's a hand underneath the table. His immediate thought? Oh, it's one of these situations. So
Mm-hmm.
the couple continues on. Robert is just being blatant yet relatively calm, talking about tastes in clothing and what type of house they're building, just being an absolute gentleman. And then Dennis, the guy of the couple, starts to sweat. In which Robert will just say, "You're sweating in Chicago." You know, one of the coldest places in America.
Mm-hmm. I hate Chicago.
Yeah. So then, we're building home for our family, is what Dennis would have said, and Robert just keeps being calm, saying, "I'll give you a loan." And the kicker is, how much do you need? $1 million in 1950 Chicago. And even if it's in the 90s, it'd still be a heck of a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So, Robert put 2 and 2 and 4 together to make 8 and just showed security. Next thing you know, he has a gun pointed directly at his head and he could care less.
Oh.
Because dude just casually pulls out $1,000 saying, take the cash right now and I won't say anything. He's giving him a free way out. giving into their demands. And just by that, just asking, oh, hey, what do you want to do? Kill someone? Or do you want $3,000? You just won the freaking lottery.
Oh, yes.
And they quickly leave because nothing says scary like a man offering you free money.
Mm-hmm. Definitely untraceable money. Definitely won't be traced. Definitely can't be found, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Definitely not markered.
Of course not. Of course not. I love that they have that money at the banks that, like, explodes or, like, has ink all over it or
Yeah, like
something.
like has a dive bomb on them.
I hate that. That's disgusting. Excuse me. I am sick. After that, poor old John Freda. If Swift will stop me, if she's on. But John Freda is outside with at the tennis courts, and his trip manifests itself in a talking inanimate object. The tennis divider, little net, I guess you call it, starts talking to him and moving in weird shapes and starts telling him basically that you should. Oh, hi, there's Swift.
Oh, so
Do you want to tell us about the trip?
Power
So-
Kings.
what is it?
Oh, we're talking about
what was-
the once John Freda's
Loose.
trip. Yeah, I'm gonna
The-
link you to it.
Like the acid trip. Well,
Yeah.
to him, it's like he's hardly even phased. He's already loose in the head as he is. So to him, it would just be, well, it's another day in the neighborhood. So he's already loose-headed as he is.
Mhm.
So, but he would just be talking to. So yes, in this scene, he talks to a tennis net. A tennis net. It's just so funny. And the funny part about him talking to a tennis net is that it relates, like, just for a little bit of personal trivia. My uncle and dad actually play tennis.
Nice.
I also took up tennis lessons as part of my special PE classes back when I was like grade 10 or grade 11. Grade 10 and grade 11, yeah. So that's why I was like immediately gravitated to the tennis courts. Just saying. So, yeah, as I was saying, he was out there in the tennis court. He meets this talking net who is just like, and then John's just like, how rude of you to suddenly startle me like that. He doesn't question why he talked. He probably didn't question why the tennis net's talking. But then the tennis net's just like, oh, hello. And I know you. You're the great John Freda. And it's just like, why my reputation has been far and wide. Thank you for even knowing about my name. I'm honestly touched that you do know my name. And then he's just like, of course. And then the tennis net is like, of course you do. Everyone knows you.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows you and all that. So the entire tennis, like the entire scene with the tennis net is just the entire scene of the tennis net is just him like basically saying, it's just the tennis net imploring him to like, well, you made a life for yourself. We get it, but I get it, but don't you want to find something a little bit more exciting to do? And then he's just like, exciting to do, and he's just like, John's just like, I think, oh yeah, I remember specifically that the tennis net asked him, but what would you do if your family's threatened? And then he's just like, I will do anything to defend their name and all that stuff. I'll do anything to defend them. And then he's just like, where's your sense of adventure? Where's your sense of adventure, John Freda? You were so grand before. Why can't you go big or go home now? And then he's just like, and then John just asks the tennis net to clarify. And he's like, and then the tennis net immediately hits a very personal note, and it's just saying, that lighter, that's all that you have left of her, right? And then he's like, yes. And then he's like, what of it? And then he's like, do you live up to, is that how you tend to live up to her memory? And then he's just like, yep, because it's a gift from her. It's a gift from her, so I shouldn't be neglecting like this gift of mine. She has so just another backstory reveal which I added like in the little description text is that, oh yeah, she gave him a lighter, he gave her another gift in return, a diamond ring.
Aww.
So yes, that was his that also doubled as his way of proposing to her. Like after she gave him a gift, she was just like, "Oh, it just so happens I have another gift. I have a gift for you too. I was actually planning on giving you a gift, but you beat me to it. So will you marry me?"
Oh, that's cute. That's super
Yeah.
cute. Oh, so John Freda, well, crazy, very romantic.
Yeah.
So
He's Spanish. What do you expect? He's Spanish. What do you expect?
goodness. So Haru and Henry have a little bit of a hangout moment before both of them split up because Haru realizes that the garden, all the grass seems to have grown, and we know how much tall grass is very, very safe in the CB or in real life. To be honest, don't go in tall grass.
Professor Oak was right.
Yep, that's absolutely right. Professor Oak is always right. Always listen to Professor Oak. So Haru goes into tall grass and suddenly starts to realize that there are very fast beings around him, and they are moving very quickly. And in the middle of the tall grass, they eventually reveal themselves to be assassins, very masked assassins, and they have little dolls in front of them. Ooh, nee. And they start to attack, and Haru seems to take out all of them. And at the very last second, someone is behind him, and he picks up a sword, a katana, and stabs backwards at the assailant. More on that later. And so then Henry has probably one of the most action-packed trips. He sees a ladder, and Henry realizes in his trip that he suddenly can walk, which was interesting. So Henry realizes there are explosions happening behind him, and he realizes that he is in the middle of a war field, which is indicative of his real experience being in war. So people are running and yelling and saying, "Oh my God, we got to get out of here." So people are shooting, and they're telling him he has to get to high ground. So he gets on a ladder. He goes up. He meets a friend who's a sniper, who helps him out until she herself gets shot, and realizes that there's someone speaking, I believe it's German, who is coming after him, and he has to fight him. And so he's trying to shoot him, and eventually, Henry keeps climbing up and up and up to the roof. The German soldier is following close behind, and they have a struggle until they both fall off the roof, and we'll come back to them. Thomas probably has the easiest of the trips because he is downstairs pressing the button, and the button begins to have little babies. The button sort of walks around like a little spider and starts to poop out little babies. So baby buttons start happening, and and they all start talking to Thomas, and Thomas just watches them and listens to them, and they start going into a chorus of a nice symphony. They start singing to Thomas about buttons, which is the cutest thing. I love it. Sweet, sweet Thomas. So now we can circle back to when it gets very real over in Cedric's world. What happens next in Cedric's trip?
Okay, so
I know, I'm trying to find it too.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was just checking another channel while you told me about it. I was like, I should.
Oh, here we go. I got it. I got you. Found it.
Thank you.
It is
I
right.
forgot it's all the way down. Oh, I found it. So
Okay.
So
Let's
say
see.
Cedric has this realization. So young Robert's like, "Oh, so what are you going to do about it? You have nothing left to give. You're useless to this world now." And he's like, "What could I do about it? After all, I'm old and frail, got nothing left to give. I can only contribute so little to this great big world." And then he goes about saying, "Oh, they say a person dies thrice. The first is when a human body ceases to function. The second time's the body put to the grave. Then the third time's when your name's mentioned for the last time." He says, "Oh, surely I'll die once, surely I'll die twice, but I don't think I'll ever die thrice. Unlike you, people will want to forget you."
Ooh.
And then Cedric's just like, "I likely won't be around to see you die those final 3 times, but I'll know when it happens, and when I do, will be complete and utter bliss." And then young Robert, still thinking he can win this fight that he's obviously lost, he's like, "What is your plan when you leave this place? You've wasted your life pining after someone who never gave a shit about you. He had a family, a whole life about you. What do you have to show for your life? Old age, loneliness, and disappointment." And then Cedric's like, "Oh god, he actually probably defeated me." And then he's like, and then a realization comes over him, and then he starts laughing, and it's just like, "Oh, you're hilarious. You really think I'm so poor, lonely old man, huh? That I've wasted my life away going nothing but pining over some old man? That's what you think? But even as an old man, I have plenty to show for myself. I have family. Frankly's family to be stacked. Natalie, Courtney, Molly, even Billy. Frankly, of course, doesn't know who they are, even though he never got to see them grow up and become the people they are today. But you know who did get to see them grow up and become the people they are today? Me. I was there for them all throughout their lives, being part of their most significant memories. Do you think I would have had the life today had Frankie never not cared about me, as you said? I don't believe so. So therefore, I don't believe I've wasted my entire life away. I made thousands of people laugh, become entertained every single day. I used to struggle, and I'm not lonely, nor am I a disappointment, because I have family who show love and care for me, and to me, that's all that matters." And then he asks Robert, "What do you have to show for your life, huh?" And then he's like, back on the first, and then Young was like, "Well, perhaps you should ask yourself that question." And then he gets closer to Cedric, and then he realizes something. He was never talking to young Robert this whole time, because young Robert was Frankie this entire time.
Oh shit!
Young Robert was Cedric this entire time.
God damn it! Were you gagged by that?
For the young.
Were you gagged for that?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh my
Life
God.
is for the young. Time to die, old man.
Oh shit! I loved writing that. I loved writing Time Dialed Man. That was great.
I loved writing this whole thing.
So right at that moment, upstairs where Galil, Faith, and Maybe are all hunkered down in the machine room, Maybe smells smoke and begins to panic. There's something wrong. And Maybe gets out of the machine room that they're trapped in and goes out of the window of the Fresh Beginnings building and starts to see if they can save all of the patients. And it doesn't start off well because Maybe watches young oh wait, is it? Oh, it's young Haru. That's right. Young Haru is taking Henry, and they're fighting. Henry, of course, thinks that he's fighting a German soldier, and they fall off the roof. And so Henry gets really, really upset, of course. And then he sees someone in his periphery who is walking under him. Maybe is now on the roof, by the way. And he says, "John, is that you?" And it seems like John Freda is moving into the building. Not sure what John's doing, but it's not good that John is alone. So John seems a little bit hypnotized or something. It's very concerning, but maybe goes, "John, where are you going?" And keeps going, keeps on keeping on, and gets down to the base to the ground basically through footholds, and eventually I think meets up with John. Yes, finds John, and talks to John about, like, we need to get you out of here. It's not safe. It seems something's going on, and Maybe he's like, "Oh no, I don't need to go anywhere. Like, I'm fine. I can move by myself." And I had Swift roll to convince Maybe that John would be fine by himself, which is such a grave mistake Do not leave John by himself. He is not well. And so maybe is like, okay, fine, get there by yourself, but please get there. Um, and he sees that oh yeah, so by the way, Galil has initiated a lockdown. That's also very important, which means that all of the doors in the facility are locked. However, maybe does see that the back door is open, that perhaps John might have opened it before Galil initiated the lockdown, which is important.
Yep. And because John, and then the tennis net. Like, I forgot to mention like the last part of the tennis net's
Oh, yeah.
conversation with John. It's just, oh yeah, you need to burn this whole place down.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yes. Yes, that smoke
And
that we've been smelling? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And like this is like a part of his backstory that I kinda did not decide to add in his profile because, just because like it won't really be given that much focus anyway, but it's important to know precisely why he's just so inclined to, precisely why he thinks the fire is like setting things on fire is like soothing for him.
Yeah.
Like specifically the part where he makes the decision to like set the entire area ablaze. It's like he has a mental talk with himself in his mind, like what you even what's this? What you can define as his quote unquote sanity, which is barely even any.
Mm-hmm.
There barely is any. There's barely even any sanity in this guy, but regardless, he's just like, you don't want to do it right now, and then he's just like, no, I still want to. But then one of the others, and he's just like, yeah, but they are not Natalia. But then he's just like, still can't do that. Can't you at least try to control yourself, man? And then he's just like, too late for that. I'm just gonna be meta talking this one. I'm already way past the point where I can properly be treated for my burning desire, pun definitely intended. And then, don't you want to be at peace at some point? And he's just like, at peace? Oh, I was at peace the moment I heard those children screaming. The moment I heard those children screaming in that building. So, yeah. Remember that I mentioned back in the lobby chat during that time that, oh yeah, there's more to John's backstory. Like, there was that part in 1926 that stated, oh yeah, he was the sole survivor of 2 succeeding tragedies that happened within like a 24-hour time span.
Oh god.
The first was an accidental burning of the stove. Like a gas stove leak just caused like his family home to get set on fire. And then the following day, like the school that he went to was also set on fire, and John happened to be the survivor of both of those incidents. What they didn't know at that time was that he was the instigator.
And so is he this time. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
So we come back to Robert after this, and take us through this very sad scene, Jesse. We're almost at the end, folks.
So Miss Appley come back into the office asking what the heck was all that about? And Robert's like, oh, nothing. This ultimate old people trying to hornswoggle me out of money. For once I could finally use that phrase.
Your one and only time.
Yep, never gonna happen again. Then just some banter between Miss Apple and Robert. Nothing extracurricular went on between them, I can guarantee that.
Really? I didn't even consider that, but okay.
Yeah. You notice how they were actually very friendly to each other?
Do you think he cheated on his wife with her?
Now that they're so great friends, but it's up to you to decide that one, Fire. I'll leave that one up to you.
Excellent. You know what I choose. Anyway, continue.
So then, his grandson came out. He would be in his mid-30s at this point. Because Robert's guess of it being the 1950s was drastically incorrect, and it was 40 plus years later.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. He can't win again. So, Jonas walks in. You know, all
Who's Jonas?
Grandpa, how his grandson.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell the listeners. Yes, Jonas is his grandson. Anyway, continue.
I was about to say Jonas walks in saying Grandpa.
Right.
That should
Yes,
tell you.
that's fair. Yes, fair enough.
Yeah. So Robert and Jonas have their own, little talk. Dude's in college, in his mid-30s. He can do it whenever. And then, oh, he has a scare. Yeah, he always has scares. Then talking about, Robert's daughter and his mom just enjoying retirement. Then talking more grandson stuff. And then Jonas talks about potentially having a future in the company, in which, yes, are you wanting to take it over? And Jonas he gets a bit nervous, but he wants to, clearly. And Robert's all for it, since dude has 5 years maximum left in his tank, and he needs someone to take over the air quotes family business.
Yes.
So then, interestingly, Jonas doesn't seem to remember his brother's name,
Uh-oh.
nor remembering his job.
Uh-oh. Getting tested.
Yeah. The quick-wittedness is coming out full-fledged. And also, just a classic line of, remember, you're a day. You're not a night.
Uh-huh.
You're a day.
God. Oh, God. I hate this man.
He's just your corny grandfather.
Oh, God. So then
So
what happened?
then, need bank codes. And Robert just keeps them all in his mind because it's impossible to steal them at that point. And then Robert's like, well, I'll give you the codes, just burn the paper once you remember them. And then he takes out a black book and a pen, having a list of names within it. And those names would be the names of people who owed him money.
Uh-huh.
Yes, in an alternate universe, this is just a starting point for the CW Screen Arrow.
My God. Oh, God. I hate it. I
So
hate it.
then Jonas just looks trying to find a piece of paper in which Robert actually bonks the crap out of his head with the book. And he still tries to look for something to write on. And Robert's still offering him the book.
Yes, so it was
And
clear
then
that he in this person's reality, they could not see any of the things that were being offered to them. So they weren't seeing the same reality that Robert was.
Robert was catching on to that.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. So then what?
So he says, this isn't Jonas, is it? Why would my mechanic's grandson want a stake in the bank? And then, just some interrogation, making sure he's right for the job. He totally doesn't realize this is exactly not what's happening. Robert throwing his pen against the wall when Jonas tried to find a pen.
Ooh.
So then Jonas, air quotes, talks about, well, why don't you write it down? Absolutely not. And then Robert the banker becomes Robert the interrogator, asking, what is your mother's name? Does he remember? So, because Jonas says he doesn't remember. Then he asks, what is his wife's name? And then, you never told us. Then who
Ooh.
was us? And he calls him a liar. And then he straight up says, when is my birthday? Me.
Oh shit.
Then it says, Jonas calls him Robert. And then calls him out on that as well. How Jonas never called him Robert. And then the young Robert wants the numbers at this point, calling him a dinosaur.
Oh god.
And then my greatest line in a CV ever. 1134209.
You're so proud of this. So proud of this.
AKA go to hell. Which, and you would think if that was his actual grandson, he would have laughed.
But he wasn't, was
And
he?
so,
Who was he?
exactly. And then Jonas says there can't be two of us. And then Robert just starts pretty much going ballistic and is smirking and laughing about how he just gave him a fake code saying flip it upside down, you absolute idiot. And then a fight breaks out, and well, young Robert does his best Gerard Butler in 300 impression. And insert a fight with the pool of Robert just...
So it turns out, yeah, that also the facade of the office building is no more, and they are back in the pool, and it's actually young Robert who is trying to kill older Robert and take his identity, and they fight in the pool, yes. And then how does that go?
Well, fighting is a strong word we both use. In reality, it was just someone laying over willing to die, knowing that they won if they died. Because Robert fought for a second, and then he didn't afterwards. So Robert gets pulled underwater by young Robert and starts to drown. Yet Robert doesn't, in fight or flight, he does neither. He doesn't attempt to swim up, which confuses young Robert. And Robert continues not to resist.
Oh god.
Except he gave young Robert, right in front of his eyes, a middle finger.
Oof.
Old Rob. Dude's corny and has some snark to him.
Oh. And what happens to him in the end?
Robert starts, reiterating the rhetoric of young Robert about a dinosaur and how his secrets are safe. And just saying, if you kill me, I win. If I live, I win. And young Robert slams Robert's head against the pool. And he starts to bleed. And he doesn't fight back. And he gets hit again into the side of the pool. Starts to fill with blood. Still smiling, not fighting. Death would be the seal. Young Robert's going ballistic, saying, I'm stronger, I am faster, but you are not smarter. As he started to just fall deep into unconsciousness, another slam to the of his head to the side of the pool, and then another, and then a fifth one, killing him. And currently, Robert would be the first to die. 50 frickin' shades of CV6.
How many? So once again, Jesse's the first character to die. First person to
And
die.
once again, Jesse is the first character, has the first character to die by their head being bludgeoned against the wall.
Yep. Do you think? Oh my god, where does this death rank in your CV deaths?
I'm probably the most proud of this one.
Nice. Love that. Love that.
So firmly top 2.
Nice. So poor Robert is our first one to die. But that's not the only death that happens. So as maybe is coming around to the other side of the house, he sees that Haru is running around with some sort of like pitchfork of some kind, like a gardening fork. And as Maybe tries to get close to Haru, Haru stabs backwards and impales poor Maybe. How did you all feel about Maybe getting killed? Were you surprised?
A little bit.
Poor Maybe.
Yes.
That was your only ally. Your only ally. Well, I guess Faith.
I'm gonna be real. I thought it was gonna be like full party wipeout between like Faith, Maybe, and Galil. I thought it was gonna be like between those three, complete wipeout.
I thought about that. I really thought about that. But stay tuned for CV12 for return guests.
Can't wait.
So Maybe dies, and the most interesting thing is that once Haru realizes what he's done, he kind of keeps it to himself, and he's like, "Okay, we're just gonna move on from this." And then we get to another sad scene. Take it away, Soph. I linked you on the bonfire bar text chat. And if you see it, the final trip. No spoilers, but you know, poor baby. Sophie there?
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. Do you want me to do the
Yeah.
Cedric trip part 3? Okay.
Yeah.
So Cedric is like, young Cedric is like, oh, you really think you're stronger than me? Well, let's fight this out because fighting with words doesn't seem to help young Cedric. So he's like, all right, I'm uncertain if I can beat you, but I can know one thing, that we don't need two Cedrics and there's only room on stage for one of us, and that spot is mine.
Mm-hmm.
So then they start fighting. Fire had me roll some D40s, and I was rolling like pretty good at first.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I was like, so first Cedric got him to the floor, and then he stands over him. But I was like, oh, what do I do now? Because I did not think this through. Like, I did not think how I was going to write this through at all when I was writing this. So Fire got the advantage. It's like, he tries to trip him, rolls a 5, and then I rolled a D40, and I got pretty mid. And then young Cedric manages to reach my feet, and then I rolled a really, really bad 8. Fire rolled a 6, and then he's like, he manages to yank Cedric to the ground, climbing on top of him, about to strangle him, and I was like, oh shit, what do I do now? And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and just kick him off. So Cedric kicked him off. Thankfully, Roland was being nice to me that day, and I rolled a D40. And then I managed to fling him up against the wall. Damn, Cedric is strong, if you know. And then...
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and then he's like, okay, I didn't want me to do this, but you leave me no choice. And then he tried bludgeoning his younger self's head against the wall.
Oh, boy.
I rolled it. I got really good roll again, and Fire managed to get Fire's also managed to get a good roll. Roland really fucking loved Fire this one.
I know.
And then young Cedric doesn't care about it. He's like, that's the Fire that's been missing all your life.
Oh shit.
And then he's like, I'm gonna try, and then he tries to slam against the wall. He gets a few good hits, and then I start rolling really shitty, and then he's like, oh yeah, you got that against your whip? You got any more in your whip? Yeah, I thought, yes, maybe I have a chance against this.
Oh.
And then young Cedric's just constantly like, I don't know how you call it. I think you say, I think it's like, kind of like, I don't know if it's insulting him, but it's something around those lines. Oh, yeah. He's like, oh, does this make you feel good, old man? Does it make you feel like you're doing something you're worth a slice? Ooh. And then I started, like, right after that. And I was like, oh, it does. It makes so quite much watching you draw blood, all thanks to myself. And then I started rolling shit rolls after this. And then young Cedric actually resists from that. And then sends Cedric back a bit for the headbutt. And then Henry comes into the hallway, but he can't hear anything because the Fire had him roll, and because he got a roll, and it was -10 for hearing loss, so he couldn't hear or see anything.
Right.
And before he can do anything, he's grabbed from the back and dragged into the pool room. And then Young's just like, don't bring this down for yourself, you can do this. And then I started getting bad rolls at this time.
Oof.
Hang on. Oof, I lost my spot. Hang on. Go back. And he's like, so young Cedric gets the situation where he gets to smash bludgeon Cedric, and Cedric kind of like realizes, am I he was like realizing that he's really on the last of his legs, but he's like, would dying be really that bad? I mean, it's bound to happen eventually. It's better to happen now. Plus, his hopes I could actually see Frankie for real after all this time. So he tries to fight back, but Roland was being a little bitch, and he got really bad rolls. And then Cedric starts to see his life flash before his eyes. He sees Frankie, and then he's like, death really isn't that bad. That's a lesson learned. Oh, the Central left. Anyway, and he's like, death really isn't that bad. And then young Cedric wins.
How did you feel about that? Were you devastated?
I knew I was gonna die when I joined. So I was like, yeah, this one, I'm gonna die this one. I have no chance. Well, at the very least, Cedric's with Frankie. They're probably somewhere up in heaven, enjoying themselves. They at least get their... I guess they kind of do, at the end of the day, get their happy ending. But in my OC-verse, they get their happy ending without any death. No death or anything, so...
I love you all have
Frank canon.
Your own non-CV verses where you can be like, where nothing bad happens to them.
Frank Rick is canon.
So yes, young Cedric or old Cedric becomes the latest victim. And then it turns out that Henry's fall is broken from the roof by young Haru, who lands on the ground. And before Henry can start to be attacked by young Haru again, excuse me, young Henry comes through, and young Haru and young Henry begin to fight. It turns out later that young Haru wins because they find that young Henry's throat is slit in a bush. So, sorry to young Henry. But John and Haru and young John and young Haru, so the Harus and the Johns basically meet up in the front of the building, in front of the Fresh Beginnings building, and they try to figure out what to do and what is happening. And it's so hard to keep up with everybody. So young Haru sees that Maybe has been murdered and thinks that it is John. And so tells Haru, like, this guy's a maniac, like, we need to stay away from him. And young Haru is very protective over frickin' young... God, there's so many of them. He's protective over Haru. So Haru and John, young Haru and John begin to fight. And long story short, as the building starts to go up in flames, by the way, because John has begun to lit the building on fire. Which, great, John, as if we didn't have enough problems in our lives. So John lights the building on fire, and young Haru decides that John needs to be eradicated, and he does just that, unfortunately. For John, he impales John with the same instrument that Haru killed Maybe with a gardening fork. So we poor John. That was really sad. I thought John was going to make it, quite frankly. I know Swift is away, but I thought John was going to make it. Poor John.
No, I thought it was going to be a full party kill.
I know
like,
you did.
I
As soon
as the death started happening, like... with John.
I mean, to be fair, though, well, this is the City of Curses spoiler, so I'm not going to say anything. But
Never
basically, John
himself.
Yep. So John even references that part, like the Fresh Beginnings death. He references it, but I'm not gonna say exactly how. But but in any case, it's like, oh yeah, he got the stabby stabs. It's fine. It's fine. At least his cousin Trevor's alive. That's all that matters.
Oh gosh.
His cousin-in-law is all alive. That's all that matters.
Oh, I was sad. I wanted John to live. I thought he was gonna live. He was my favorite.
Well, technically, he did manage to live a full life in Mysterious Backstory, or if you want to see City of Curses, just go. You'll see him there. He's more active there. or
If
he
you're
was more
technically in
active.
Destiny, you live a full life.
Yeah,
So
he's just
yeah. So poor John gets stabbed. But the fight is not over because Haru then has to fight young John, who is going full chaos.
yes,
And
because
mhm.
young John is honestly like I was just throughout the entire segments of young John, I was just like, uh, John John would have been like it's understandable that young John would be like a little bit less refined in this case, but like John in his actual younger years, he would have been like super refined, yet still a bit like still with a screw loose. So
Oh
he would have
god.
just sounded just as polite when he was younger, but just had that underlying sinister tone,
Oh,
underlying sinisterness. So,
I'm
and he always
reading.
spoke with a.
Go ahead. We're gonna say you always
So
spoke with
he's
what?
like
Yeah.
he always has a tilde towards the end just to emphasize precisely how much he's trying to put up a friendly front,
Oh god. Pure evil. I love
and
him.
that's well pure evil. And then I will just say again, look at City of Curses. You're welcome.
We don't recognize other RPs here. No, I'm just kidding. Shout out to City of Curses. So I'm reading Little Baby Old Man Haru. Are you ready for a stabby stab? Which is a quote from young John. Young John was fun to play for as long as he was alive. Young John and Haru, I believe, begin to fight, if I'm not mistaken. Oh yeah, I think Haru was running away from young John. Um, and uh, and yeah, so eventually they fight, and Haru kills young John. He was stabbed in the heart in a duel. They did an old school duel, or duel. Um, so that means that we have one, two, three youngsters dead, three left, and three old folks dead, and three left. So not bad so far. Um, and so we cut back to Galil and Faith, who finally admit that they smell smoke, um, and and they're just kind of sitting there, um, being a little bit forlorn and whatnot. And Galil says, basically hangs it over Faith's head that you know that Zay is the reason that they're alive today, and that basically Galil has been helping Faith for a very, very, very long time, which we will get into at the end. Um, so then I believe, oh yes, so this is the other part. I'm trying to remember what happened to Henry. Because I think Henry had the option. Henry was trying to run, and this is another noob moment, which is my favorite. Noob always makes the wrong choice. It was Noob had the option to go to the front of the building or go inside the building, and Noob chose to go inside the building, which was like the bad idea, because I think he ended up running like right into young Robert, which is my favorite. I'm just like, oh god, Noob constantly makes the worst decisions. Go back to the vines for your favorite moment. Um, so then we go back down to Thomas, who's having probably the best time out of everyone because the buttons are still singing to him. Um, but eventually, Thomas hears a big knocking coming from the elevator building, and it turns out to be young Thomas, who's saying, "We need to leave. The building is on fire. I have to get you out." And the buttons are like, "No, don't go with him. That's not. Don't worry about him." Um, and eventually, and they're trying to sway Thomas towards them, and eventually Thomas um, says that he's going to go with young Thomas instead. Um, there's a moment where I think like old Thomas like opens the elevator and he's like super strength. It's crazy, but anyway. So the buttons go no, no, and it turns out that the buttons were not buttons at all, but now they are young Cedric chilling in a fucking vent, ready to kill them. So the fight now begins. It is the Thomases versus young Cedric, who young Cedric is now killed has one body on his
I'm
chest.
rooting for him.
You're rooting for him? Oh my god, he's terrible. Um, and they struggle, and the Thomases work together to help each other, and young Thomas is basically like, go. It's funny because some of the it's so basically what I did was that I based the personalities of the youngsters in response to how your all's date went with them. You're all like solo time with them. If you guys decide to do competitive things, I made them adversarial, and if you guys decide to do non-competitive things, I made them friendly. So that's how that happened. So that's how you got young John, young Cedric, and young Robert.
God, I hate that. I hate that.
Yep.
I hate that. I could have had a friendly young Cedric.
You could have. You certainly could have.
Well, at least that kind of gave me inspiration for how I'm going to do Cedric in my OC verse.
Yep.
I'm just going to make him kind of like young Cedric, but not as like, I'm going to fight you thing.
I can't wait to see it. And then young Haru's was that he's only friendly toward Haru. He wants to kill everyone else, but like only wants to keep Haru for himself, which does not work out for him. So the Thomases fight young Cedric, and it's kind of a long fight. It's probably one of the longest fights in this particular CV, which eventually leads to young John getting no, that's wrong. Oh, we're gonna cut back as they're fighting because Henry, shout out to Noob, of course, making the poor decision, gets a choice to go into the front of the building, go inside the building. He chooses to go inside, and young Robert pulls him into the pool, and it's obviously the bloody pool because young Robert's body is, old Robert's body is, dead in the water. It's gross. And Henry, who of course does not have the use of his legs, is being pushed underwater. He's being drowned underwater, and unfortunately, he succumbs to being drowned in the pool by young Robert, who is terrible. Probably, I think young Robert is maybe the worst of the youngsters. I'm not sure.
Which is kind of funny because Robert's just kind of the wholesome guy.
The wholesome guy, yeah.
Usually.
Sure. So young Robert has now killed two old folks. He's killed Robert and Henry, and then we go back to the fight with the Thomases versus young Cedric, which I believe, I don't know who actually, I'm trying to see who actually kills. Oh yeah, because then it becomes a fight between young Robert. I didn't even remember this. Young Robert and Haru start fighting. Where do they fight? I'm trying to see where they fight at. That is weird. Leaving Thomas to make a move. What do you think you're doing? Oh, I guess Robert walks out and they fight in the backyard. So all of these fights are going on at the same time. And oh yeah, this is where like Haru becomes kind of invincible because he kills. He also kills young Robert. He stabs him in the neck in another duel. So Haru has now dueled young John and young Robert and killed them, which is kind of amazing. And now at this point, I think that Vel's characters are invincible, which is kind of not true. So eventually, the Thomases continue to fight young Cedric. Eventually, young Cedric impales himself with a piece of glass in his head, which is really nasty and gross. So if you are keeping score, the old folks who are dead are Robert, Cedric, John, and Henry. The youngsters who are dead are young Haru, young Henry, young John, young Robert, and young Cedric. Which means all that are left are Haru and Thomas and young Thomas. So the building is going up in flames, and the Thomases are trying to get out, and eventually, it turns out that actually Thomas seems to be a lot stronger than young Thomas, which go off Thomas, that's great, and gets him out of the building, and they meet up with Haru, and the three of them get out of Fresh Beginnings alive, which is amazing.
Yeah, I do wonder what happened to them after. They were probably traumatized.
Yeah, probably. I would imagine so. But our final scene we get is with Faith and Galil, who give a little bit of a teaser into the lore of of these two characters. So I'll read this little bit of the scene. Faith says, "I don't care if we survive this." So they're still held up in the machine room. Faith says, "I don't care if we survive this. I don't know how we survived it all, but those men are innocent." Galil says, "Is anyone innocent?" Faith says, "I don't have time for this. Just disable the lockdown." Galil says, "Our relationship has changed so much." Faith says, "Please, Galil." Galil says, "You used to look up to me." Faith says, "I still do, in a way." Galil says, "Do you remember anything from the island?" Faith says, "If I say yes, will you release the lockdown?" Galil asks them to try, and then Galil says, "Your name has always suited you. You always had misplaced belief in me," which is a shout out to "For So Deep Is Our Love," where yes, I'll believe. And so he finally lifts the lockdown, and they get each other out. To which, at the very end, Faith turns around and kicks Galil back into the facilities, into the flames, and leaves for the very last time. Ooh.
Oh my gosh.
I was
So-
hyped at that.
Yeah.
So did you pick up on who Faith and Galil are?
Imani.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
I kind of saw it at the beginning.
it's Imani and Gabriel. Ooh, go back to For So Deep Is Our Love, by the way, if you want to know all about Imani and Gabriel. So yes, that was Fresh Beginnings. How did you all feel about this one?
I liked it. I really had a lot of fun playing it.
Yes,
That was fun.
This is a good one. This is a fun one.
It actually didn't have any burnout to it, despite the length.
Yeah, because the thing is, not a lot happens. It's actually, like, in terms of things that happen, there's not a super ton.
Everything happens in like the 3 days.
Yeah, this is actually going to be the shortest of the podcasts because not a whole lot happens. But yeah, it was fun. You guys did really well. I was surprised you all did so well at playing older characters. It was great. It was super great.
Can't wait for CV12.
CV12 coming soon. Coming.
When
CV12.
CV12.
will it start when you go and after you cut back from your holiday?
It will either start during my holiday or when I get back.
Okay.
It'll like right away, or I would kind of like to start it during. So we'll see.
Okay.
It's gonna be interesting. Get ready. All right, folks. I'm going to bed. Say goodbye to the kids.
Bye bye.
Uh,
Bye.